amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remember blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria. Remember, they will always change the narrative. The government will always try as much as possible to use the conventional media to change the narrative, but that I will not allow. In this platform, we'll set the record straight and we'll say it the way it is. Not preaching hate speech, not by talking down to anybody, but setting the record straight and bringing the information to the front burner and letting the world know the exact situation of things. Each time you watch my video, you can equally go to the comment section, put down your comment, say it the way you feel it. It's so welcome. You can criticize if you so desire, but do it constructively so that we can be able to learn from one another. That is why I'm here. And now, I'm going to share with you a very important video. I hope after watching the video from the beginning to the end, you're going to enjoy the video and you continue to stick around and be able to enjoy the rest videos that are going to be coming your way from time to time. Thank you so much for coming. Today, the video I'm going to share with you is a very important video. Today is going to be a wonderful day and I can see our yes, I can see Obong Philip Efiong Jr. here already, and I want to say thank you very much guys for watching. Please help me to share this information, help me to share this video because it's going to be a wonderful one. Don't worry about the short video I played. We're going to talk more on that, but I believe today is a special day. Please help me to share this video so that other people will know that we are here. And our guest, I would say, on this platform, because this is the first time on this platform that Obong Philip Efiong is here, and it's going to be a wonderful one. I want to welcome you, sir, to the to this platform. Everybody is excited to see you, really, and as I usually do, I would like you to give a little bit of introduction to yourself, which should be helpful for others who doesn't know you to know you better. Welcome, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Because I haven't used this platform before.
Yes, we can hear you very, very well. You are very loud and clear, sir. Go ahead. It's normal. Okay. It's perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Philip Efiong, like Nsima has introduced me, and I'm currently a professor in the Theater Studies Department at Michigan State University in the United States. I also teach outside of the theater department in another department called Integrative Studies in the Arts and Humanities. In the past, I've also taught in the University of Calabar. That's where I started. I've also taught in Ghana and in a number of other American universities. So it's a pleasure to be here. So essentially, I'm a teacher and a writer. That's who I am. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, sir. So we need people like you because we have not been hearing a lot about people like you, because it means if you're a teacher, there's a lot that you can teach us. And I think that is why we are here to have you today in our midst. I want to start with this. There's a book, Obong Philip, there's a book. And I know I have been talking with you about this book. And finally, I was able to get it. And I believe other people need to get this book. That is why I want to start with it. Because everybody knows you as, from that name, Philip Efiong, General Philip Efiong, they can recall what that name is about. And most of us, we have been, trying to get a lot of history, reading and trying to get more information about this. And then when I learned about the book, and I decided to reach out to you because I think this book is something that we need in our generation, especially everybody, especially our people in Akwa Ibom and Cross Rivers. They need to know about this book.
So I'm just going to put it to the screen for others that have not seen the book. It's called The Caged Bird Sang No More, My Biafra something there, 1966 to 1970, Major General Philip Efiong. So I just want you to talk a little bit about this book, because I've gone through it. I've learned a lot, which is going to be my major series of my conversation with my people on this platform. But the reason why I want you to talk about this book, because I know that there may be something that you might point out specifically on this particular book. Is about Biafra. I've read about it. A lot of stories of what happened in the past in the Biafran War, and how the late General Philip Efiong was involved, which happened to be your father. And I believe if there's any other person that should tell the story, there's no other person than you that is the right person to tell the story. Please, sir, can you tell us a little bit about this book, please?
Okay. The book has a lot of history. The first time this book was, my father started writing this book was in the 70s, and he lost the manuscript. And so he started writing it all over again. I think one of the problems he had was putting the book in the hands of the wrong publishers. But fortunately, I was able to get the manuscript shortly before he died. But I haven't had a lot of good luck. I've had 2 publishers that I've canceled my contract with them, and the latest publisher I had to cancel because, like in Sima, when you try to get the book, it wasn't there. You have the Kindle version, but that's not what people want. And so right now that the book has been taken off the shelf, unfortunately. But the material is there. So right now I'm treading more cautiously because of my bad experiences, and I'm in the process of getting a new publisher. So that's where I am now. I have full rights to the book. Like I said, I've canceled the book, and so if you don't have access to it right now, I really apologize, but I would ask you to be patient. If you want to read the Kindle version, that's fine, or the electronic version. It's there on Amazon. The book, if you look at the dates, it says my Odyssey from 1966 to 1970. So the war started in 1967. Why does my father put 1966? Because that's where the problem started for him and for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, there was already a war that was being unleashed on people before the official war started in 1967. You are probably aware of the thousands of Easterners, mostly Igbos, that were massacred and attacked, and whose lives and property were destroyed in the north and other parts of the continent of the country before the war started. So there was already a war, and against certain people. Most of the people coming were from the eastern region, and these were innocent people. And my father also escaped death because he was in Kaduna and later on Lagos, where the second coup plotters tried to get him and kill him. Fortunately, he was able to hide and with the help of friends, and eventually make his way to the eastern region. So that's the basis for the book, because that's where it started for him. And of course, the only safe place for my father, my family, and many of us was in the eastern region. Unfortunately, we experienced another onslaught even after we returned to our homes and our communities. The enemy came and still attacked us there. But fortunately, many of us are still alive, have survived. But the story is important because it's from the standpoint of someone who is not Igbo, and we need to recognize that all across what used to be the former Eastern region, a lot of us are not just connected by culture, but we're connected by blood. A lot of people from parts of what we understand to be River State, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, moving down to even Delta, a lot of the people, we're not just connected by culture, but a lot of us are connected by blood. We have the same DNA. A lot of us, if we're honest to ourselves, we look at our families. You'll find an Ikwere person there, you'll find an Igbo person there, you'll find an Efik person there, you'll find an Ejagan person there. So we're all interconnected. And so it is important that my father told this story from the standpoint of someone who's not an Igbo person. The non-Igbos were significant to that conflict before the war, during the war, and after. And they played very major roles. If you look at from the beginning of the war right to the last minute of the war, Igbos and non-Igbos played fundamental roles. So that it's important that he gives that perspective of someone who's not Igbo, so that we get a broader perspective of what that experience was about. Many people have tried to reduce it to an Igbo experience. I don't think that is fair. It's not fair to non-Igbos. It's not even fair to Igbo people to reduce it that way.
Wow, thank you very much. I think you have already started touching the important bit of this conversation today. That is the most important thing that I wanted to ask you. Because during the Biafran War, I really want to understand, and I believe this message is for my people in Akwa Ibom and Cross Rivers. When during the Biafran War, what was it called? Where I think you said we are the same Eastern region. It was called the same Eastern region. So I want to understand, was Akwa Ibom people and Cross Rivers now, presently, were they part of this Eastern region? What about Rivers State, Bayelsa, and all these river areas, were they part of the Eastern region? Because I want to understand that. People from Akwa Ibom are saying that they don't understand anything about Biafra war or anything, that it was the Igbos that brought the war to their place. So I want to understand this war that happened. What really happened? It was Akwa Ibom and Cross River, were they part of the Eastern region as at that time, please?
Yes, they were part of the Eastern region, and for people to say the Igbos brought war to them, was it the Igbos that bombed them? Was it the Igbos that starved them? Was it the Igbos that killed unarmed civilians in Asaba? Is it Igbo people that went to refugee camps and killed refugees? No, I'm not saying Igbo people are perfect. Of course you have bad people everywhere, but Igbo people were not the ones that instigated that problem. And even though there were disagreements before the war, we could have continued to have a conversation. The Igbo people were not the ones that first resorted to violence. Now, yes, if you look at the Eastern region, back to your question, of course we are all, not just that we're part of the Eastern region, I said earlier that we're connected by DNA. A lot of us have relatives and are connected by blood. Margaret Ekbo is a famous name. Her father was an Igbo man. If you look at the first head of the Navy, Rear Admiral Way, one of his names was Edet. If you look at one of the presidents, Goodluck Jonathan, one of his names was Azikiwe, And if you look at the women's revolution that took place in 1929, it was women from, you had Efik women, you had Igbo women, you had Ibibio women, you had Ikwere women, you had women from all over the region coming together without putting any boundaries between themselves. My own grandmother participated in that revolution against colonial taxation and other bad colonial laws. So we have always been connected. You look at the formation of Biafra itself, some of the key roles played by people like Enyo Akpan, who was a secretary to the Biafran government, or Mr. Kobara, who was a diplomat for Biafra, even Chief Opigo, who gave the name Biafra, who suggested the name Biafra. You have people like Colonel Achibong, you have Okokondem, you have so many of us that were involved in that revolution. And so for people to say Igbo people have come and, Igbo people, like I said, you have bad Igbo people, but where on record have Igbo people come and devastated your communities the way the federal side during the war devastated your communities? It's ridiculous when we say that.
Wow, thank you very much for that answer. I think that is a perfect answer, that we are not just related by cultures, but by blood, even DNA, and I I understand that perfectly. I want us to go to, because the reason why I'm having this conversation is targeted at of for my people, Akwa Ibom and Cross Rivers. Right now, they seems to be the one that are not. They don't even understand much about Biafra. They don't understand, or they don't even understand anything about freedom. They tend to see themselves as Niger Delta. They say, oh, they are not part of whatever that is happening. They don't even want to talk. So that is why I'm just targeting this conversation in that area. So the next question I have here is, what really happened to Akwa Ibom stroke Cross Rivers people during the Biafran War? I really, really, if you can help me give a little bit of narration during that time, please.
Well, in fairness to our people, a lot of people from our areas were really victims, because if you look at the history, the violence, the coups, we didn't participate in any of those things. If anything else, our people were trailblazers in the creation of the Nigerian army. If you look at people like the late Wellington Bassey, or even my father, so we first of all, we were victims, but it was a war. So in war, people are going to look for ways to take care of themselves. Self-preservation is important. As a little boy, I lived in Ikorekpene during the war, part of my growing up. Before Ikorekpene kept changing between Biafra and the Nigerian side several times, because it is a key location. Once you cross Ikorekpene, you get into Aba, you get into Umuahia, Owerri, all those places. So when we lived there, Ikorekpene was staunchly for Biafra. I remember very well. You had Biafrans everywhere, and I'm not talking of Igbos. I'm talking of the Anang people and Ibibio people, people from Uyo, people from Itinam, who were in Biafra, who were soldiers. I remember them. But like I said, it's war. So when the federal side had the bigger army. They had the better weapons. They were supported by Russia. They were supported by Britain. So they eventually started to gain grounds. And when they would gain grounds and capture our communities, our people would shift. I don't blame our people for doing that. So that's basically what happened. When Biafra controlled Ikorekpene, Ikorekpene was Biafra. When the Nigerian side came, the people changed sides. Look, and I understand that. And eventually, as a lot of our communities fell to the Nigerian side, the people embraced Nigeria. It was really for self-preservation. It doesn't mean that our people were not killed. They were still killed. Our women were still raped. And to this day, we are still marginalized. We don't have anything. People of Akwa Ibom don't have anything, or Cross River. You say you have a state, you have no control over the resources of your state. Your state was initially created for you by someone else. When the Gowan administration created your state, they created it for themselves. They didn't create it for you. They created it to isolate you from the Igbos. That was the main purpose, and it worked. They also, even though they created it, they appointed the governors. Until we started having civilian government, they were the ones appointing military rulers. They were appointing people who would answer to them and who would do what they want. So we had no control over our state, and we still don't. When they appointed people, those people were not loyal to us. They were loyal to those who appointed them. That is why you and I have no control over the resource that comes from our land. We produce significant amounts of wealth for Nigeria. But the average person from Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa own little or nothing, except for the political elite in our states. The rest of us are marginalized and have no real access to the wealth that comes from our lands. The wealth goes to outsiders, goes to multinational corporations, goes to Nigeria has a very strong federal government. The power is at the center. That's where the wealth goes. And of course, some of our people in key positions, the political elite, the economic elite, they enjoy that wealth. but the vast majority of us do not, because we really don't own a state. We are tenants in that state. We just reside there, but we don't own anything in that state. Technically, we don't own a state. And our eyes should open, and we're not where we are because of Igbos. We can't say that the Igbos are the ones, ravaging our lands and taking away the wealth. They're not the ones doing that. But like I've said, of course you have bad Igbo people, you have bad Ibibio people, you have bad Efik people. But for the most part, you cannot look at Igbos or anybody else from the former Eastern region and say that they are responsible for you and my problems today. The problems are from outside, and we need to come together to fight that power that is invading us from outside.
Wow, thank you very much for that answer. I want to shift to something else that people have not been talking about. Because I've been wondering why people have not been talking about it. And that question is, why was the late General Philip Efiong not given a befitting burial? Why? I have checked everywhere. I have not seen, even people today, they don't even remember him as such. They do remember Ojukwu, but even in Akwa Ibom, the governors, the books, the written, when they talk about the history, they don't even talk about him. Please, if you can give us a little bit, why was he not given a befitting burial? Because I think that burial needs to be done. Please go ahead.
Well, for me, I get a lot of commendations. I get a lot of good wishes. I get a lot of messages, good messages about my father from a lot of people. And you're right, many of them do not come from our area, but that is fine with me. The truth is that when the propaganda that has gone around is that somehow the Igbo people came to destroy us, and here's one of our sons, meaning my father, who worked with the Igbos, to destroy our people and our lands. Of course, that is ridiculous. When my father fled from Kaduna and Lagos, it's because his life was in danger. And when he came to the Eastern region, it's because the government of Gowan also said, return to your regions of origin. And when the war started, what do you expect a trained soldier to do? To sit back and watch people being killed? Of course not. They were trying to not just kill our people, they were trying to kill him. So he had a right to defend himself. But a lot of our people have allowed ourselves to be, and knowledge is important. In biblical literature, you say your people perish for lack of knowledge. The information a lot of our people that has been driven into the heads of a lot of our people is that, my dad just one day got up and went and joined with Ojukwu to come and try and destroy our people and kill our people. Of course, that is not true. That is one of the problems. The other problem is that our people have been made to believe that the more they can dissociate themselves from anything Biafra, that it's better for them. So you have people who want good political careers, they want good economic careers, and they feel like if they identify anyway with Biafra or with my father, that it would work against them. That is why you don't hear any of them. That's why you don't hear them bringing up his name. They bring it up in private, but not in public, because they're trying to protect themselves. It is unfortunate, but we need to stand for the truth, despite the victimizations we may face. You can't sell your conscience because of a good job or because of a political career, but that's where we are. You said they don't communicate with, or they don't say anything about my father. Do they say anything about me? My career started in Unica when Akwa Ibom and Cross River were one state. I have served well. I went to Holy Family College, but I know that nobody will engage me in any capacity in that state because of the affiliation with my father. And my name is the same name as my father's name is. So it's so easy to pinpoint me. So it part of it is the propaganda, part of it is because people are looking out for themselves. if we associate with Efiong, with Philip Efiong, then maybe I won't have a good political career, or maybe I won't get a contract or get political appointment. That's it. Otherwise, I know my father is an innocent man, and I don't care what anybody, let anybody do whatever they want to do to me, hate me or whatever. I will always stand by my father and what he did. I'm very, very proud of him. We live in a country, that country today, look at the people that we give national awards. Look at the people that are in the Council of State, ex-dictators, people that were accused of being thieves, of being coup plotters, of being a political frauds. They are the ones that get national awards every year. Go and check the names. Go and check the names. Those are the same people we go online, go to social media and see how we abuse these people. But they're the same people that we turn around and honor with appointments and political awards and national awards. So we talk from both sides of our mouth. On one level, you're rewarding people who are criminals. On another level, you're demonizing a man like my father who never did anything wrong. There's nothing on record to show that my father ever stole money from government or rigged an election or planned a coup or anything like that. So these are in answer to your question. I know I went a little bit further. But it's the propaganda, and people are trying to protect themselves. That's basically it.
Wow, thank you for that answer. Just give me a few minutes because there's something I need to play. I got a video of the late General Philip Efiong. I really want us to listen to that. I think that video is just confirming what you are trying to explain, that what the late General Philip Efiong did. And I just want us to listen. It's a very short video. It's not going to take much of our time. Okay, I'm going to just play it right now.
And I myself, I'm not an Igbo man, but I was to be killed also, and I just managed to escape. And a few of the officers escaped, but very many were killed. Those that were killed came from what was then Eastern Nigeria. For instance, Major Rock is not an Igbo man, but he was killed. He was killed in Kaduna. Major Kanam was killed in Lagos, and he is not an Igbo man. And several others like that. I'm trying to say that the officers killed, came not just from one tribe, but from the Eastern Nigeria as it then was. Yes. So there you are. It was lucky for those of us that escaped.
Wow, he said that it was lucky. It was lucky for him to have escaped, and this is exactly what you are trying to explain. Because I cannot believe that even in this our generation, we have people like Governor Udom Emmanuel. We have people like the former governor Godswill Akpabio. Never in history did they even talk about all these things. I am so touched because I am alive and I cannot allow all these things to happen to my people. Because I just want to understand why is it that even this generation don't know about these things? Please, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, I thought I did. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, this is why one of the reasons why I believe in young people, because a lot of young people are connecting more with each other, and I hope you can continue to do so in a very respectful way. Whenever I talk with young people now, a lot of them, first of all, they identify themselves, with various ethnic groups there in the Eastern region, and they don't seem to be as limited, if you want to say, as confined in their thinking as a lot of their parents and grandparents or foreparents who believed that you have to isolate yourself in order to move forward. I see a lot of young people really connecting with one another, and the more you connect, the more you speak to one another, the more you learn, then these truths will come out. People say that young people are the future. No, young people are the present. You know, the young people are the present. And the reason, I've already tried to explain the reason why it's not that we don't know about my father in my state, in our state. We don't want to talk about him. He's well known. You know, my father is someone that educated himself when when his father couldn't send him to school. That's how he became a military officer. Educated himself and bought books and bought the syllabus for London GCE and took it from home. So if you look at him, you look at people like Wellington Bassey, you look at a lot of great people from our area. You know, we know who they are. But the reason why they would not talk about my father is they believe there's a stigma affiliated with him. He is the one who is supposed to have betrayed them by hugging Igbo people and being friends with Igbo people. So they know him, they just don't want to talk about him. But like I've said, young people seem to be fearless increasingly. And young people seem to be looking for the truth in a much more dynamic way than many of the older people. So my faith is in young people, actually. I believe that a lot of this cycle will be broken. A lot of the young people that have talked to me and that have celebrated my father are not Igbos and are not Ibibios. They're just from different places, but they've looked at the truth, they've embraced the truth. And so that's my faith, and that's my hope. Otherwise, as far as there's politics, as long as people have political ambitions, you mentioned these politicians, Udom Emmanuel and Akpabio and the rest of them. Look, I'm not quarreling with any of them. I'm not abusing any of them, but I know for a fact that if any of them establishes any kind of association with my father, that could be the end of their political career. Remember, they belong to political parties that they are not in control of. Who controls the political parties? Who controls power in Nigeria? Whether it's military power or economic power or a political power, it's those who won the war and their offsprings, let me put it, or those who they've produced, those who they've raised. They are still the ones that are ruling Nigeria. So if you say anything that tries to in any way celebrate or bring recognition, not just to my father, but anything Biafra, you find out that there's going to be hostility. There's going to be a reaction. So a lot of these politicians are concerned about their careers. It's not that they don't know my father. And some of them, by the way, in private, when they see me, they say very kind things to me, but they will only do it in private. They won't do it in public.
Before I continue, I just want to bring this last one because Rabbi Charles is online and he would like to have like interactive session with you. I don't know if you know Rabbi Charles, but I believe he'll be able to introduce himself when I bring him in. One of the questions I want to ask you before I let you talk with Rabbi Charles is, why the fake stories that Igbos killed Akwa Ibom people? Because it's one of the stories that my father told me. You know, I tried to share that story here, and some Igbo people, they came after me and say, oh, you say your father said you should not trust your people. But please, can you confirm to them that they understand that there are stories that our father told us, that it was the Igbo people were the one that killed us, and so that we should not trust them? Please, go ahead.
Yeah. The demonization of Igbo people started long before the war, you know. And, when you have a war by its nature is destructive and it's evil. So it's going to bring out the worst in people. At a point during that war, especially when they started capturing our areas, a lot of our people started to cooperate with the Nigerian side. I don't blame them, because what else? They had no other option. And for a lot of people, Igbo people who knew that was happening, this whole thing happened in Biafra called there was this fascination with traitors. We used to call it sabo, from the word saboteur. And so, increasingly in Biafra, if you didn't speak Igbo, you were almost immediately defined as a traitor. It's sad, but it happened. And I can say there is no doubt that some of our people were killed. Some of our people were innocent, guilty of nothing, were killed. But you don't want to generalize. The vast majority of Biafrans, of Igbos, were not just killing people carelessly. Evil is going to, even in peace times, these are supposedly peace times, you will still find criminal behavior. And so you had that kind of criminal behavior in Biafra, but it's not fair to generalize because the Igbo people, by and large, for the most part during the war, lived in peace with people from, with their neighbors. And the leadership, if you look at the leadership of Biafra, not just Efiong, not just Enyo Akpan, you look at Ekogin Ambasi, you look at Okokondem, you look at Kobara, the way these people were embraced by the Igbos will tell you that they really didn't have any major animosity against non-Igbos the way we are told. But you will find some elements who would have those biases and prejudices. Yes, they existed, but we shouldn't generalize because you have people who were like that. And in a war situation, we expect some of those careless killings and some of those unjustifiable killings to take place. The truth, however, is that no matter how many people may have fallen at the hands of Biafrans, non-Igbos that is, let us not lose sight of the real problem. The real problem were not these criminal killings that were, by the way, not sanctioned by Biafra. These were not Biafran policies. And wherever people were found to have killed innocent people in Biafra, they were arrested and faced some kind of punishment or trial. But like I was saying, let us not lose sight of where the real killing was coming from. It was coming from those jets, those bombers, many of which had been provided by Russia. It was and Britain. All those major military hardware and weapons, those were the things that were killing us, not Igbos. The starvation. We had refugee camps all over Akwa Ibom, places like Ntodino and the Ikwen, places like that. You had refugee camps with our people there. So it's a digression. When people try to make it about Igbo people, they're trying to take us away from the real criminal or the real enemy. And it is those that were using these sophisticated weapons, including starvation, to destroy our communities and brutalize our people. That's what our focus should be, not on the occasional criminal elements that existed in our society, and they exist in all societies.
Wow, thank you very much. I think at this point I have to bring in Rabbi Charles. Hello, Mazi. Are you with us, Rabbi Charles?
Yes, I am with you. I'm with you. Good evening from here.
Yes, you are welcome. Please, I would like you to introduce yourself, and then you meet with Obong Philip Efiong, please. Go ahead.
Good evening from here, Biafrans all over the world, friends of Biafra, freedom lovers. I salute you. Our leader, His Excellency Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I salute you. And our general, the son of our general, Obong Philip Efiong, good evening from here. I salute you, sir. Great. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I have spoken. Did you hear me?
Yes, we heard you very well. Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking you have you want to have like a conversation with Obong Philip Efiong, because I still have lots of questions to give him. I believe he still have small time with us. Do you have anything you want to say to Obong Philip Efiong first?
Yes, I do. It's a pleasure having him on your special platform this evening, and I would love to have an interactive moment with him outside this platform, because there are developments. And having said that, I have been watching all that he has been doing, and all his speeches and all the books that I got from him when I met him in a place in a conference where he spoke with other teams. and I heard all that he said. It's quite inspiring. We didn't get the picture of what happened during the war. Most of the things, I got it firsthand from him. And when I read all those stuff that was written there, I felt, wow. And the role that his father played is a great honor speaking with him this evening.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mazi Rabbi. I want to ask you your specific part that you have played in the freedom of our people, Mazi Rabbi, because now that you are here, can you tell us more of your job in the restoration of peace and freedom in our land? Pending, from the stories we have heard, even from Obon Philip Efiong, from the stories, the books we have read, what is your own part that you are trying to play right now for the restoration of our freedom? Please go ahead, Mazi Rabbi.
Yes, thank you very much. I have been serving Biafra as a unit coordinator in the past before this extraordinary rendition took place. I've been serving Biafra as a unit coordinator as well, before, and also our leader, Mazen Nandekano, gave me appointment as one of his emissaries to do anything to drive, anything possible to drive the enemies out of our land. And that has been my task. So there are many other things that I'm doing on the ground that I cannot be able to say now. When you are in service, you cannot say everything. It is when you get out of service, either when you have retired or whatever, then your activities will speak for itself. So you're not going to say it now, but everyone has who has been here, or those that have been hearing from your platform knows me, recognizes my voice from Radio Biafra when I was having a slot to speak on Radio Biafra regularly. I used to have 2 days program, Tuesdays and Shabbat Shalom on Saturdays. Then I will speak to our people. And I have never relented in speaking to our people. I speak in various platforms, your platform, New Heritage, and some other platform. I can never stop doing that until when we achieve our mission. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much, Rabbi Charles. I have a question for Obon Philip Efiong. And there is something that people do say. I think you touched a little bit on that. That people do say, I'm talking to Obon Philip Efiong, not you, Rabbi. It's a question for him. They do say that your father, the late General Philip Efiong, it was not intention for him to fight for Biafra, that he was forced to fight for Biafra. I know you touched a little bit on that. How true this story that General Philip Efiong was just used as at that time? People do say that.
No, he wasn't used. My father, whatever his flaws, he wasn't a fool, and he knew who his enemies were. And when his enemies were those who tried to kill him before the war and who tried to kill him during the war. And he escaped 2 ambushes during the war, by the way. And after the war, they didn't try to kill him physically, but they tried to kill him emotionally and economically by depriving him a means of livelihood, whereas he had 7 children to raise and later 8. So these are his real enemies, and your enemies, you have a right to protect yourself against them. And that's exactly what he did. If there are people from Akwa Ibom or Cross River who they weren't trying to kill and who felt like they should side with the government of General Gowon, that's fine. That's your narrative. My narrative is different. My father was seen as an enemy, not because of anything he did, but because he was considered to be a close friend of Ironsi. He served in the State House as principal staff officer. That was his crime. But I'm asking people, I'm challenging people out there, who are out there praising all kinds of people in Nigeria that we know are criminals. I'm challenging them to point out any crime that my father committed. If he stole money from government, point it out. If he rigged an election, show it to me. If he planned a coup or supported a coup, show it to me. This is an innocent man, and I'm very proud of him, and I live by his ideals. No, he wasn't forced. He was absolutely not forced. That was his choice, and he had a good reason to make that choice. And I have a good reason as well to continue to support his choice and to support our people, what our people did by standing up and defending themselves. You don't just sit back and allow yourself to be slaughtered. You know, there's a poet from Jamaica. I think he ended up moving to America, called Clyde McKay. He said, "If we must die, let it not be like pigs. So come and kill me, but I'm not just going to die like a pig. I'll fight back and I'll die with honor." And that was the attitude of our people. I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of my father. I'm proud of everyone who stood up and defended our lands against a very brutal and very wicked enemy at the time.
Well, thank you very much for that response. The other question I want to ask is about the state of, I don't know, is it the state of Nigeria as at that time? I want to talk about, because I know that the first capital of Nigeria was in Calabar, and we also had seaport in Calabar. As at that time, there wasn't anything like Akwa Ibom. So I want to understand what has if you can just give it, because I know you were there, you say you were young as at that time, maybe you have a lot of story of what happened. So please tell us, why did they change the capital of Nigeria from Calabar to other places? At first they went to Lagos, and now they moved it to Abuja. And the seaport that was, in fact, right now they have marginalized us. Everything that was first in Calabar, which is Biafra land, is no more there. Please, can you tell us a little bit of story that you know about this, please? Oh, sorry, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself? Yes.
I keep forgetting. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why they moved the capital territory from Calabar, but I do know that at the time that we were Eastern region and we weren't so fragmented into little states, that our economy was quite vibrant. You know, I know that the quality of life back in the 60s, even though I see it from the eyes of a little boy, I know that it was much better than it is now. I can't talk about the movement of the capitals. I'm not sure. You know, they say Abuja is more central. Whatever the reason is, but as far as life back then, when we had when we had a degree of control, a degree of autonomy, we did very well. Look at how the Eastern region was one of the most fastest growing in industrial area in Nigeria, and perhaps in most parts of Africa. Electricity supply was not a problem. Even if light went out, it was very rare. I remember those times. I remember if I wanted to go to the hospital, I didn't have a desire to go abroad. Right there in Ikorekpene, one of the well-respected doctors, Dr. Akpabio, is actually related to the former governor. And I remember him treating me. You go to the hospitals, and then you go to our schools. When we graduated from our schools, if we went to anywhere in the world, our Nigerian students were highly respected. So I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but the more we are under the control of a central power, as we are now, the less autonomy we have. So whereas we could do things independently, we can't do things independently anymore. Someone has to sanction it, or someone has to say yes to it. Maybe that's why our ports are not vibrant anymore. Maybe that's why a lot of our industries are not the way, because we have the knowledge, we have the people. But as long as you don't have freedom, there's a limit to which you can be resourceful. There's a limit to which you can be creative. And I think that's part of our problem now. We have lost a degree of our autonomy under the guise of being given states, but we have no control over those states. I've said it before. We're just tenants there. We have no control. We have no control over the security forces. We have no control over virtually everything. And that's why we're where we are. At least, that's the only response I can think of right now to your question. But as far as the moving of capitals, I'm not very sure. I've heard different versions, so I'd rather not comment on that. I don't think I have a good answer to that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. for that answer. At least you have also helped us that things were normal as at that time. But now until they came and took over everything, so we are just like tenants, just answering names in in the state. The other question is the late General Philip Efiong surrender. So many stories we have heard about it. What do you think about that, and why did he surrender?
Well, first of all, the surrender was a group agreement. And I think one of the things we need to do more, I do have a copy of the surrender instrument. I don't have it with me here. But those who accompanied my father to Lagos we need to have their names, mention their names each time we mention this. And the surrender was an agreement because at the time, Biafra, it was not practical for Biafra to move forward with the war. And because morality was morale was very low, not morality, morale was very low. Most of Biafra had been captured except areas around Newi, maybe. Owerri had just fallen, and that was the last, a major defeat for Biafra. Because when Biafra took over Owerri, that really gave Biafra a lot of encouragement and confidence. But Owerri was taking the airport or airstrip at Uli, which was the main means by which Biafra could communicate with the rest of the world, was about to fall. You know, people were starving, people were suffering. And wherever the enemy went, they were very ruthless. Because the rules of law, they were not obeying the rules of law. A lot of civilians, especially in the Igbo areas, were being killed, especially the men and the boys. The women were being raped rampantly. And if my father continued the war, if medicine came in or food came in, he would have got it first, whereas the other people would be suffering. And I don't think he wanted to continue with that kind of arrangement or that kind of structure. So it was the best decision. It wasn't easy. Let me just tell you that, because I've lived with my father. He raised me, and I know how difficult and how painful it was for him to make that decision without knowing what the consequence would be. As far as he was concerned, he was going to die. So the decision was really made to stop the suffering. Our people were suffering too much, and it is good to fight, but you have to fight with intelligence. You know, our people were suffering too much. It's unbelievable. Some pictures, images, videos have tried to capture it, but if it continued, they would have continued to suffer aimlessly. And so the agreement of the Biafran leadership was, let us call for a ceasefire, which is what they did on the 12th of January, and on the 15th they went and concluded the peace agreement. But if you read that instrument of surrender, it says that moving forward, we can only move forward by deliberating, by engaging our people. It says it's there, and it was honored, and it was signed. But so far, we've been moving forward without engaging our people. You know, that instrument has been violated.
So who was supposed to engage with our people? Is it the Nigerian government?
Oh yeah. Successive governments were supposed to now take into consideration the wishes and the demands of people of former Biafra, not isolate us. But for the most part, we've been isolated. So yeah, anyway, you know, so that's why the surrender. It was really to stop the suffering, and the last person to have suffered would have been top Biafrans, because the relief supplies would have come to them, medicine would have come to them. They would have, you know, those things would have come to them first if they continued the war. But the people would have been suffering, and they were suffering terribly. Another thing I think is perhaps they might not have, well, I can't say they were kind towards my father, but the fact that they didn't tie him up and shoot him, in Bar Beach, his ethnicity may have saved him. he's being an Ibibio person, he's not being Igbo, and the fact that he wasn't Ojukwu. Because if it was Ojukwu that did that, there's no doubt that he would have lost his life, definitely been executed. I have no doubt that that would have happened to him. But it is what it is. It wasn't a great experience, and there have been major consequences, a lot of suffering as a result of that decision. A lot of our people have suffered and continue to suffer because, like the suffering didn't just stop just because the ceasefire stopped. The suffering continued, and it, we continue to be marginalized. We continue to suffer economically and politically, and but at least at that time, lives were saved.
Yeah, I think that is what I wanted to say, that the suffering has not ended. And I would really like to see the surrendering document, please, if you can make it available, because that will help us, because I want to see the agreement that was signed, because I think these are legal stuff. And then because the suffering still continues, they are still killing us and they are still taking all our resources, our oil. I normally ask this question, Obon Philip Efiong. We own one of the highest oil wells in Akwa Ibom, and we supply the highest wealth in Akwa Ibom. How many of the Akwa Ibom people own oil wells, please? If you can just answer that question.
I don't know of any, and nobody should own an oil well or an oil block. Nobody should. How do you own something that's naturally produced? Nobody should own it in any decent society. This is collective property. In Botswana, where diamonds are a major export, nobody can own a diamond in Botswana. You can't own a piece of diamond. So and who owns it? None of us own it. I said it, and you've just confirmed it. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. And then you go to the other day I was trying to speak with my mom, who was in Nicolette, when I called. Then when finally I was able to get through to her. She said, "Oh, that they are taking light for about a week, so nobody could charge their phone or something." I mean, think about it. In a state with so much wealth, you can't even have basic things, and except that Akpabio came and fixed a lot of roads. Look at how that state was. It looked like a hellhole. It looked like, I don't know how to describe it. It just looked like a major disaster. So no, we don't own anything. We don't own the oil wells, and I try not to focus on people who own them, because it angers me when I look at the names of people who own them. It really angers me when I think about the suffering of our people. It's very annoying. It really is.
And I think that is where I want to. There's something that I heard about, that when the legend Philip Efiong wanted to surrender, he said that if you did not treat the children, if you did not treat the children of the surrendering Biafrans well, that they will all rise up and fight. And I think that is what we are doing. And I just want you to give us a little bit of comment on what you think about what we are trying to do. Because for me, I'm not comfortable. I have my own personal story which I share of how my people, especially my people in Akwa Ibom and Cross River today, are still suffering. We only have governors who have become warrant governors. They are just like representative of the what do they call them? The warrant chiefs in the past during the colonial masters. Because we can see that they are not doing anything to support the youth, or even nothing. There is no schools in Akwa Ibom. All of them are dilapidated, destroyed. In fact, nothing. So we are still suffering. And I think that statement stands. The statement of the late General Philip Efiong, that if they do not treat us properly, that we'll rise up and fight. That is why we are fighting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, and you have a right to fight. And any responsible government, any responsible leaders would listen to you. They don't have to agree with you, but a leader is not a leader over people who is always in agreement with them. You're not a leader over people who practice the same religion with you, or who speak the same language with you. You're a leader over everybody. So when you agitate like a lot of young people are doing, you should be engaged. You should be engaged. They should listen to you. They should call you and say, okay, fellow citizens, I see you're angry, you're troubled. Can we discuss and find a solution? They don't do that. Instead, they come at you with aggression. Whether it's verbal aggression or whether it's police or army aggression, that's what they do. Because these are not leaders, these are criminals. These are thugs in positions of power. So you have a right to rise up, and you have a right to do it responsibly. The only thing I would say is diversify your views about what's best for Nigeria. So if someone comes and they don't use the word Biafra, listen to them. Because in the end, I think we're really saying the same things, but we might be using different channels. If someone comes and says, well, I want to talk about the mismanagement of our resources, but I don't see myself as a Biafran, listen to them. Communicate with them. And then tell them why you see yourself as a Biafran, or why you prefer to use the label Biafran, you know. So that's all I'll say. Let's diversify it, because part of the problem with us is we're so divided. If you look at the North, there are two things that hold the North and keep them unified. One, religion. The second thing is the Hausa language, but especially religion. Especially religion. But for us, we keep attacking one another. You know, we keep. So I would just say let there be more unanimity and more diversity. You know, and when you communicate with someone or someone communicates with you, let them tell you what their views are. You tell them what your views are. You may not always agree, but you can come to an agreement, or at least you can come to some state of harmony, which is what we need now. We are very, very connected. That's what I said at the beginning, and I stand by that. Culturally, in terms of DNA, you look at a lot of Igbo people, go to Abia State, you have Epo Society there. You have it. You have Ekpe as well. There was a woman, an Igbo woman I was speaking to the other day. I was telling her about a bankoko. She said that they cook it, and that's what they call it. It's an Igbo woman. And if you had asked me, if you don't mind, Nsima, if I'm talking too much, just tell me to take a break. I want to go back to a question you asked about Igbo people killing Biafrans or killing non-Igbos during the war. I want you to think about this. Perhaps you've traveled from Ikorekbene to Umuahia, or from Ikorekbene to Aba. There was a time you reached some areas that are called, I would call, gray areas. Before boundaries, before all these states and boundaries, and you didn't know who was who. Everybody there were so interconnected. Everybody spoke Igbo, everybody spoke Ana, and you didn't know who was who. There was nothing like a separation, a strict separation of the people. If Igbo people have been killing our people, then why would they live like that? Why would they live in such harmony? Why would you have CBD among Igbo people and have it among our people? It's because we have always been working together and cooperating. I just thought I should make that point. It's a point I wanted to make earlier, but I didn't make it. So let me stop there.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because the one thing you just said now got my attention. Because we seems to find out that people that speak, you talked about that we are so much divided. What do you think is causing this? Is it because of the history that we don't have? Especially Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Rivers, all of them are coming with different names. And you say, oh, we should just listen to them. Why? How can we listen to them? Because a lot of people think that if we don't use this name, Biafra, that is like it's a betrayal, that people have died because of Biafra. That name Biafra has killed a lot of people. And because of that, we want to keep that name. No. And anybody that come up and say anything contrary to that, we just get angry and we finish that person. Is it what you think is causing this division? And what is your advice, please?
Yeah, first of all, you had mentioned education. Education is very, very important. And I would, we don't really have civics education, but we don't have to rely on our schools. It is time for us to begin to learn about one another. When we learn about one another, we'll see our connections. The Ikwere people, I understand some Igbo, and if you're around Ikwere people and you listen to them speak, you will hear a lot of Igbo phrases and words. So we need to get back to that education, that civics education, where we realize that we're really more connected than we know that we think we are. The thing about Biafra, I understand the passion. I always tell people the Biafran spirit will never die in me. It will always remain in me. And no matter how much I've tried to live as a Nigerian, I've always been rejected. I'm saying that I've always been marginalized. So I understand the passion. But in spite of that passion, we should give room for people with different views. And we should stop. And even if we want to disagree, we can disagree without getting angry and getting into fights, whether they are verbal fights or physical fights. So, and I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people, because I've had people speak to me from different parts of Nigeria about this subject, is because I'm open. I always try to be as open as possible. I will make my case, I will express my views, but I will be open to other views. I think if we can be more open, less aggressive, less passionate, and focus more on communication and dialogue. Communication is not one of our strong points, unfortunately, especially when it comes to the leaders. The moment you disagree with Nigerian government, what do? They send mobile police to come and kill you. But we have to develop a culture of conversation and dialogue, honestly. But I understand the passion. I understand the pain. I understand why people want to keep the name Biafra alive. And I'm one of those people. But at the same time, I am open to other people who don't want to. Because we still share a lot in common. A lot of us are, ideologically, we still share a lot in common. A lot of us are not happy with government. We're not happy with the structure of the way things are structured. We're not happy with the Constitution. We're not happy with the dominance and the violence of the Fulani. A lot of us share those beliefs, but we have to find a way to dialogue in a more healthy and productive way. That's my honest belief.
I think at this point I need to bring Rabbi Charles to talk about this division. Rabbi Charles, what do you think is the way forward in this area of the division among us? You can see most of the Biafrans in Akwa Ibom, in Bayelsa, in Iguacha, and different other places, they fight, and we fight among ourselves. But then when we look deep into the fight, you understand that we still want freedom. We still want the same thing. But because maybe this person is saying it differently or come with another name or something, what is your suggestion or what do you think about this and how we can move forward? Please go ahead, Rabbi Charles.
Thank you very much, my brother, and for the privilege given me once again to be here tonight. Unfortunately, I will be leaving because I have an important meeting at maybe in less than 80 minutes from now. But let me give this in short. Let me just say this.
Yes.
The division is there. I saw it when I came. I didn't witness the war. The war took place before I came to this war, so I didn't witness the war. But I saw the ripple effect, the gunshot or bomb residues, environmental degradation, disaster. I remember that I saw Amoka Airport. I saw a lot of things, and over the time, they began to cut us from different position to another in the name of state creation. And we began to get divided. The state creation brought division, and the Fulanis or the Fulani oligarchy and their British counterparts are professional in divide and rule. They are the one that systematized apartheid in South Africa, and that system is also divide and rule. I was there. I saw what happened in South Africa. It's just the division. They created that division apart. The colored, that is the mixed race, apart. The dark-skinned blacks, Africans are apart. The whites, the Boers apart. In the family of the whites, they have the Boer, the Afrikaners apart, and the English whites apart. Though they have internal friction within themselves, I'm talking of the white, but they are very much advanced in coming together. Even while they disagree, they agree in one purpose, in one thing, to get the resources and better themselves. But our own is quite very, very horrifying and very, very evil. The way they put us aside, and they began to play this divisive music in our brain. And if anything happened, maybe if something happened, they will say this person did it. They will point at your own fellow brother that they did it. Nigeria is very good at that because they are taking, the instruction from their boss, which is Britain, and they began to tell them that this is how you're going to do it. So they began over the years. They always say when evil kind of lasts in the land, it will become tradition. People will begin to accept it. And now, even among the Igbos, people don't know this. Among the Igbos, they do have divisions among themselves by this state creation, through this state creation. And this ethnocentric view began to, play part. But I have solution for that. That's why I came. I discussed with our leader so many things, but let me put this thing straight to our people. Many people think that whenever you are maybe high in population, that you must be ruling. It's not always the case. You have to look at the record. You have to look at the people. You have to look at the ethnic groups. You have to look at the level of knowledge, intelligence that someone is displaying, understanding. And this is why I am calling everyone from different parts of Biafran region to come together so that we can build our nation and put this record straight. It cannot always be an Igbo man. It cannot always be, a Calabar man, because these are the dominant powers in Biafran region. It cannot always be a German. We can always come together. It is possible. If the Fulanis, if the Nigerian people can do it in there, many people think that the Fulanis or the Hausas are one. There are many tribes in the north, many tribes. But because of the common thing they have, something they have in common, the resources of your land, the resources of my land, put them together. So they are joined together to reap what doesn't belong to them. Like Professor Philip Efiong said, that you are not supposed to owe anything that is naturally created or deposited on earth. It is not your property. But these people have monopolized it and made it to be their personal properties and put their last name there. You will be surprised if you go to the oil well, you will see the one of Alakija. The way oil wells are located in the Biafran regions, you will see the names of people that are not even Biafrans, indigenous people. And the right people, the real owners of the resources, or the people that the resources are in their land, are nobodies without resources. They're not gaining anything or getting anything. And they will be telling those people that your problem is your brother. Just like what is going on sometimes. I remember when I sent a voice clip to South Africa, when somebody rose up and said, your problem, I giving foreigners in November to get out of South Africa, otherwise he will go on killing rampage. People were quiet and people were writing him. I gave him a warning, a voice clip. I said to him, South Africans are everywhere in diaspora. So be prepared. If you kill any foreigner, if they begin to kill South Africans anywhere in diaspora, you ask for it. And I asked the government of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa's government, to give that guy a warning. So when I did background check, it happens on Wikipedia. It happened that guy is a criminal. See, he has been to jail. He doesn't have any legitimate right to conduct any political activities in South Africa. So sometimes we look at things and things are getting deteriorating and we are not doing anything. Like what is going on? This divide and rule. I will be the last person on this planet to see my brother as my enemy.
Thank you.
Even if when he's not doing right, I won't think like that.
Thank you very much, Mazi. I know the time is very short. I know when I give you that, you can talk Oh my God. Thank you very much. Professor Philip Efiong, I know you have limited time. Please,
Yeah.
I just want you to give your closing remark in terms of what do you think is the way forward and your advice for us, even as the young generation of Biafrans, as we move on and continue to fight for our freedom. What do you think are the things that we need to bring into this movement for us to achieve our freedom at the end, please? Go ahead.
Let us try and gain knowledge about who we are. When you gain knowledge, nobody can brainwash you or deceive you. You listen to what the rabbi just said now. He said they'll come and create problems for you and then point at your brother and sister and say they did it. And then you believe it. But you don't believe it if you have knowledge. Then you ask yourself, I've lived with these people. I've lived with these Ijaw people, with these Akampa people. I've lived with these Efik people, these Ibibio people, these Igbo people for centuries. We've not always disagreed, we've not always agreed, but we've lived in harmony. And I have gained, we have lived productively and had healthy relationships. So how can someone from outside come and tell me that they are bad and I believe them? So knowledge is important. When we know who we are, we know the relationships we've had for centuries, and we know that we're connected in so many ways, and we need to stay connected. That is one step. The other step is to understand what's going on. What Rabbi Charles, I believe that's his name, said. Think about what happened in Imo State not too long ago. An election took place. Who annulled the election? Who annulled that election, and who was the governor that was now put in there, and how were they put in? If that doesn't tell you that you have no power over your state and that you have no control over your own destiny, then what is going to convince you? So the knowledge is important, and we should also finally the coming together. I'm glad you brought up the whole thing about disagreement. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. I disagree with my children, but so what? We will always be family. I will always love them to death. We can disagree without necessarily getting into conflict. So let us disagree, but let us disagree with the goal of eventually finding a common ground to deal with who the real enemy is, because the enemy is not my brother and sister who are my neighbors or who are part of the same ethnic group with me. They're not my enemies. The enemies are foreigners, and we cannot continue to allow foreigners to come and control our destiny and control and take away our resources. That has to end. I'd like to end on that note. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much, sir, for coming. Hopefully you'll be able to come again next time, please. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, sir.
Thank you.
Bye. Rabbi.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you, and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.